In this Kotlin on Android development tutorial, we're going to learn how to check to see whether Google Play Services is installed on our device. Welcome to Mobile Application Tutorials. My name's Nigel. Okay, this is an episode that's part of how to get hold of the online Google APIs. The first thing we want to check is if the Google Play Services is installed on our Android device or not. If not, you will have to install it because you won't be able to do the following episodes. Anyway, so we'll make a start. So we go to my website here. If you haven't signed on to the free membership, sign on because you can get the full access to this documentation here. Okay, so first thing we want is to get access to the com.google.android.gms play services auth authentication. So I'm just going to copy and paste because I've got a bad memory. Okay, next step is to actually create an application that I can paste this onto. Okay, so we'll go across to Android Studio, create a new Android Studio project. I'll just drag this across into my window so you can see it. And I'm going to call this, what do I call this? Okay, I'm going to call this Google API Authenticator, and also make sure you've got include Kotlin support. You don't need it, but you'll be implementing all your code in Java or possibly C++. Click next. I'm going to keep the defaults here. You notice that I'm using Android 8.0 Oreo. I'm going to use a blank activity. I don't need any unnecessary code, and I'll just keep the default name to main activity, and we'll wait for that to build. Okay, that's now built. So we can go across where I was talking about. So we will need to add this dependency to Google Play Service Authentication. So I'm just going to copy and paste that. We'll go back into my Android Studio. Okay, I'm going to open up my greater build file here. And I'll stick it at the very bottom of dependencies. And once you add a dependency, you do need to resync it. So I'm going to click sync now, and we'll wait for that to complete. Okay, the Gradle sync's now complete. Next step I want to do is to go into my layout file. Notice how we've got a text view here. It just displays hello world. I'm just going to change that to a button. Basically, every time I click on this button, it will display on the button itself whether I've been successful in my request setup. Okay, so this text can change. So I'll just click the Alt Enter on that. So I'm just going to change this to, let's call the resource name Google API, and the resource. Let's put check Google API availability. We will be changing this every time we've added one of the new checks. Ability. Get my Android Studio back into the right window. Okay, I just want to open up the design tab here and just check that. Okay, that looks okay to me. Yeah, you should be able to see that clearly on the screen. Go back to text. Now we'll go into our main layout file and start setting up our variables. Now we're going to create some values, one for the Google API availability, one for the Google connection status, and we're going to put a request code in there in case something goes wrong when we need to make a request to the user for installing the Google Play services. Anyway, so we'll set those up. So I'll make it private, of course, for private. It'll be a value, and the first one's going to be Google API availability. And I'm going to use the Kotlin by lazy. In other words, this gets initialized when it first gets called or used. So it's just a convenient way of implementing this in the Kotlin style. Okay, so we want to basically return, we'll call Google API availability dot get instance of the Google API availability. Okay, now we're going to set up a lazy value for our connection status. And I'll call this Google connection status. Again, I'm going to use by lazy notation, not laxy. Oh, what's wrong with my keyboard? Okay, and in this case, we can call our Google API availability. And we'll do it, is Google Play services available? Just call this. Okay, so we have those two checks there. Okay, the next step here is just if we do have to get some user interaction on installing Google Play services, we need to sort of capture that in onActivityResult. So we'll set up a result code for that. And I'm going to use the companion object for this. Basically, the companion object is similar to what Java static is in the original Android programming. Okay, and so I'll just call request Google Play services here and give it a value. Okay, now we're going to create some functions to see if Google Play Services is available. If it's not, we're going to set up a dialog to see if, to prompt the user to install the Google Play Services. Okay, so we'll do the check first. So I'll just call private function, and I'm just going to call this is Google Play Services available. Okay, it's only going to be a single line implementation there, so I can leave out the brackets and just put equals. So I just basically, I'm going to call my Google connection status and check if that equals, we can call this from the library, which gives us the connection result here, if it's successful. So this will tell us whether or not we've got the Google Play services. Okay, let's put in some functions to see if, to tell the user to install it, if possible, on the device. So I'm going to set up another private function here, which is show, I think I'll call this GPS for short, Google Play Services error dialog. I'm going to show error dialog, a dialog. So I'm going to create a value here to represent a dialog. And now I can call my Google Availability get error dialog, and we just need to pass in some parameters. One will be the activity, one's going to be the Google connection status, and the last one's going to be the request Google Play services, because we'll need to pass that into an onActivityResult. Okay, now we'll just show our dialog. Okay, and now I'm going to call a function which is called acquire Google Play services, and it will do a check to see if the error is resolvable. If it is, it'll bring up this dialog. If it's not, we're sort of a little bit stuck, so we'll display that to the user. Okay, so call private, I call this acquire Google Play services. Acquire now we'll do a check to see if the user can interact, if the user can fix this issue of installing Google Play Services or not. Okay, so if, and we'll call our Google API is user resolvable, and we'll pass in the Google connection status here. So if it is resolvable, we'll show the dialog. If it's not, else, let's display something on our button saying, sorry, we can't install Google Play Services. I just realized if we go back to our main activity, we do need to add an ID for our button so we can refer to it. So let's call this Android ID, and I'll just call this status button. So if we go back into our main activity and we call our status button here, and we're going to set that with a value here, and I will need to call the resources here dot get string, and we're going to create a new dot string ID here, so we'll call string, and we'll call this let's call this GPS failed. Okay, now we'll need to create this in my resource file, so I can just do that there, and I'll just say I cannot find or install Google Play Services. So something's really wrong. The user can't install Google Play Services. We can't find it either. Hopefully we'll never hit this state here. And in the status button here, of course, we need to append that with text using the Kotlin notation way, as we can see there. Right, now I'm going to set up a function called check preconditions. This Google Play Services installed or not is a precondition. There's a number of other episodes following this tutorial where we'll keep adding preconditions in here until we've satisfied all the preconditions and have access to the Google APIs. So I'm just going to call this function check preconditions. Right, the first check it's going to do is for the Google one, so we want to check is Google Play Services available, and if it's not available, put a not in front of that. We will call the acquire Google Play Services, which will probably go ahead and set up a dialog prompting the user to help us out to install it. And if Google Play Services is available, let's just notify the application that we currently have access to the Google Play Services installed on our device. So this is a good result, but we are going to be checking for other preconditions as well later on. So else, we'll display this on our button. What is it, the status button? We're going to set the text for that. I'm going to have to set some new text from strings like XML, so I'll create it here. It'll be resources get string, and we'll add the ID to the string. And I'm just going to say Google Play Services available. Okay, we'll need to create that in the Mac, just Alt Enter, create string value resource, and I'll just put it in here, Google Play Services is installed, which is good. and that will show up on our button when we click that. Okay, we set up a dialog, we enter that, we want to check the result of the dialog. So we're sending off a request here, the request Google Play Services. Let's catch that on the onRequest result. So I'll create a new function here. I'm just going to override a function on activity result. And this is going to be catching a number of requests for other tutorials as well. So I'm going to set up a when here, and I'll do a check for the request code. What I'm going to do here is just check in case we get a request code that we weren't expecting. Shouldn't happen, but if it does, let's tell the system what something's going well. So if we do get a request code, I'm going to throw an illegal argument exception and put some text in there saying unrecognized request code, and we'll put the code in there as well, request code. Okay, now I'm going to do a check for the request Google Play Services. Okay, so we've got Google Play Services has responded back to us, and we'll do a check in here to see if the result, we'll check the result code first. So if the result code is not equal to result OK, we'll send a message off to the user saying, look, we can't find Google Play Services, please install it. So we're trying to get the user to help us again installing Google Play Services. So I'll just put a toast in here. I'll just say, please install Google Play Services to the user to install it. Set the time for that. Sure. I'll just show. Actually, I'll just put the else in the proper place. Else, we can go back and check the preconditions, run through our check preconditions again, which hopefully everything will be okay, and we can go forward and access those Google APIs if you've done the following tutorials to this. Okay, that's all we should need to do for the requesting Google Play Services on the activity result in this episode. One final check is we have to call the check preconditions. So what I'm going to do is go into the onCreate. So we'll call our status button. And this time we're going to call our setOnClickListener. I'll use the Kotlin implementation. And now I can call check preconditions. Okay, so if we click on our button, if everything goes okay, we'll get told that Google Play Services is installed. If not, we'll probably get a dialog pop-up box telling the user to install the Google Play Services. Anyway, let's run this and see what happens. Okay, so the application's now started. We've got the prompt check Google API availability, so we set up a checklist on that. And that's good, Google Play Services is installed, so it's passed our initial criteria checking to see if the Google Play Services is installed. And that concludes this episode on how to get access to the Google APIs when we did a check to see whether or not the Google Play Services were installed. If you want access to this documentation here, there'll be a link in the description for signing up for the free, I call it the YouTube membership. So you'll be able to access all the documentation in there. If you want to get access to all the episodes in the series, you will have to sign up for the professional membership plan. That's $10 a month. You get all the episodes available to you straight away, plus additional bonus videos, and the content is ad-free, and there's a bunch of extra stuff as well. Anyway, thank you for taking the time for watching this one. Bye for now.